So now we're on to How to Rock a Fashion Victim. And I thought at first that this episode was going to revert to the old formula, but it doesn't. And it doesn't necessarily follow the new formula or the new format, but it does give us something interesting, something worthwhile. Here's the plot. Casey wants to avoid a summer job at a carpet cleaning business, as she wants to find a job that's much more fulfilling to her. Because her parents tell her relying on the idea of being a pop star is unrealistic and impractical. And it's a little annoying at first that she doesn't fully accept that, but at the same time, they have her decide on fashion. She said she wants to enter a fashion competition and design the clothes in that for her own little bit in that competition. And at first, it seems like it's going to be an episode about her, what's the word I'm looking about her procrastinating. And they don't actually make it about that. Instead, her designs aren't nearly as good as she wished they would be, or she believes that they are. And when the other members of Gravity 5 tried to tell her otherwise, she refuses to listen. That's almost annoying at first, but then it plays off when they tell her they're good enough, and at the same time they acknowledge to each other that they know they're bad and that they probably should tell her. And the Perfects have a smaller role in this episode than they do in the last 3 episodes. Instead of Molly and Grace show up a few times in the episode, and their roles in the episode are good. Well, at first in the beginning, it seems like they're reverting to the old formula with they're passing by Casey as she's holding up the orange jumpsuit. Grace goes, "Hey, Casey," and then Molly right after goes, "Jail much?" in response to seeing the orange uniform. That almost thought we were going. My heart almost started to sink at that point. If the joke hadn't been funny, my heart would have been sinking, thinking that they were going back to the old ways. Sometimes the old ways are the best, but not in this case. And second time they show up, she's kind of doing a demonstration of how things will work in the. It's not a completely necessary scene, but it's funny. It provides some good comic relief in the episode. She's instructed them how to walk down the runway in the way that she doesn't completely know what she's doing. That's funny. And the way that everybody's responded to it, that's also pretty funny, including Molly and Grace. With Molly, more teeth, butt out, hands on hips, butt out further. Then we have she's testing the clothes out. She's testing the gowns out on Molly and Grace a little later in the episode, and then Grace is caught up in hers because she can't find the head hole to the dress, and then she accidentally ends up ripping Molly's, not in any decent way, but still and then just the way she says that's not good as it happens, that's funny. And just the idea that you get the idea she may not exactly want to be there, but it's toned down and it really works. Well, it just works for me for some reason. And then Casey eventually does realize and have to admit that her designs are not perfect. And by the end of the episode, she does give this little speech about how she shouldn't always expect herself to be good at everything she does right away. So, they keep the speech mostly to a serious degree, and that's admirable. That's very admirable. Then we also have, after the clothes accidentally get ruined by the boys, after Stevie's helped her work on them, Casey work on them. Her reactions to that, by the way, are priceless. Well, actually, her reaction to when like she kind of like loses herself and she collapses. That's pretty funny. Not nearly as funny as just going no, because it's been done so many times before. Not in this show, but just in general. So then, also the fact that they can't get the stains out of the clothes, and that Molly and Grace won't wear the clothes because they're not perfect. Oh, we get an earlier bit with them in which, in response to the subplot, well, like, the boys are selling food and, like, they want to reject the food at first, but then realize they want to give it a try. So, and that leads to a little funny bit where Nelson's telling everybody to like form a single file line, and then Grace is calling out, "Can I have 2 paninis, please?" And then his immediate response is, "Let the lady through!" And he pushes everyone aside to let her get by. And then at the end, when it does come time for the fashion show, the way that we have like the perfs do their own little bit about their interest in the fashion designer who's hosting the show. And that part's kind of hit and miss, but then the fact that they're more there, they seem to be more there to support, they stick around to support Casey when she does the presentation with Gravity 5, with the rest of Gravity 5. It's subtle, and you don't think it would hold a lot of weight, but it does. It is important. Then, just a little bit that they do with... It's actually pretty funny if you think about it. I don't know if it's exactly funny when you watch it, but the bit they do with Kevin being in the dress, and then, like, Molly and Grace thinking he's pretty. It's funny. Just thinking about it. And then the fact that, like, the idea she comes up with to hide the stains in the clothes, Casey. Well, actually, she gets the idea from Nelson first. It's clever. I'm surprised I didn't think of it. And I just love the way that Marcel Gerard, the fashion designer hosting the show, he compliments her on the designs. He says, "Something about your collection really makes me hungry." To which she responds, "Weird." And so that's also really funny. So there's some subtle things in this episode. It's not anywhere near as good as High School Sensation or A Good Deed, and I'd say Campin's Campin's better too, but still, it shows a different tone to the series that is much more appealing and enjoyable than the previous episodes. So we've kind of seen how this progression has worked in that matter. And then the subplot itself is a interesting subplot, and it actually has much more of an idea to it than you'd expect. Kevin's fed up with the unenjoyable school lunches that Ivern is making. So he resorts to making his own food, not only for himself, but also he and the guys open up a shack to serve the rest of the students, and they nearly outdo Ivern in that respect. Not only because they have better food, but at the same time, they end up selling better because of it. But then there's the point where the increasing demand said they have more food for everyone, and that they'll have much more better business than Ivern, and the food ends up sucking afterwards because they've been rushing to get it all done and get so much of it out to the rest of the school, to the students. And by the end of the episode, with that, they have Xander commenting, "We're so concerned about quantity that we forgot about the thing that brought us here in the first place, quantity." And then Kevin said, "My ambitions turned me into the very thing I've despised most. I am Ivern." And so that's important because it's the idea. And then we have, it seems like a taunt when Ivern earlier in the episode says, "It's too bad you didn't make enough food to make demand." didn't have enough food for everybody in order to make demand. It shows her job is difficult, and more difficult than expected. And at the same time, she can't really please everyone. She has to just... She can't, like, focus on the quality because she doesn't have time for the quality. She has to crank out more quantity. And I think that may say something toward Nick itself. It needs to... We're getting less and less Nick shows lately. I mean, a lot of the shows we watched recently are gone. The only one left to write at this time now is... The only real good one left now currently is House of Anubis. I've seen a few episodes. I've seen at least 2 episodes of Sam and Cat so far. It's not great. And you'd think with these 2, it could be. It shows just how badly iCarly and Victorious fell in their final years. Along with that, like I said, so many of the Nick shows are gone now. iCarly's gone. Victorious is gone. Big Time Rush is gone. Just about all those, Marvin, which had barely begun, is gone now. How to Rock, the same. Although How to Rock had a lot more going for it than Marvin did. There's no argument there. And so maybe Nick's starting to get the idea that they should focus more on quality rather than quantity, and that's why they're slowing down so much with their shows. Or it could be the exact opposite. They're planning to crank out more shows at like a later time all at once, and it's going to end up being quantity over quality once again. Hope that's not the case, because Nick really can do better than this. They've been a lot better in the past, and they should give themselves a better chance to show how much more they can do with the shows themselves rather than just how many they give us. Consider that point for next time. Catch you guys on the flip side.